Welcome to the XY Advisor Podcast, a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice. To get involved, go to xyadvisor.com or simply download the XY Advisor app.
This podcast is proudly brought to you by Astute Wheel. Provide valuable, goals-based advice using simple-to-use online client data collection tools, have values and goals discussions, conduct live modelling, produce file notes, strategy papers, SOAs, and automate compliance.
Welcome back to the XY Advisor Podcast. I'm Fraser Jack, and today we are kicking off a series that is all around the idea of client values and goals and setting goals with your clients and all those great, amazing things that add so much value to your client experience. We're doing this a little bit differently today. We're going to be talking to a number of different advisors and planners and people around the country on a whole lot of different topics. So each episode of this podcast is not necessarily going to be one person, but we're just going to refer to a particular topic. And today's topic is really, we're kicking off this at the beginning of the process, the pre-engagement stuff, the idea around what is the messaging out there in the marketplace with clients? What are clients telling each other at barbecues? How are they referring to the idea of goals and values-based financial planning in the first place? And today we are joined by Naomi Rosenthal. G'day, Naomi.
Hi, Fraser. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Now, do you want to, let's start by giving the listeners a quick overview of you and your business.
Thanks very much. So I've been in the industry for 21 years now. I come from a family of financial planners. My dad was a financial advisor, and I joined his business back in 2005, and we worked together for around about 10 years. And then I joined a small licensee, a one-man band licensee called Professional Wealth Services back in 2013. I started working with PWS in 2011 in a mentorship role where I was being mentored by the director of that business, and then joined them in 2013. And we've since expanded and grown that business. I took over the business I was working in with my father. And we now have a much bigger team than just him and I and a couple of support staff. We've got 5 advisors. We've got 4 directors in the business. I'm one of them. And we have a whole range of support staff to help us. And we really have sort of 2 businesses in the advice side of the business and also the license side of the business. So we're trying to grow Professional Wealth Services to be a licensee of choice for a like-minded advisor.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you. So it's a really interesting pathway. I always love to hear people's stories about how they got into financial planning in the first place, because it's certainly an interesting one. Obviously, it was your destiny to become part of your succession for your father's business.
I put it off for a long time. I studied psychology at uni and it was never my goal to be an advisor, but here I am. It was destined to be.
I think psychology is a fantastic grounding for financial advice and the conversations, because so often you're trying to work out what's going on in somebody's head when it comes to the way that they make money decisions. And then you're then translating the product and the strategy side, of course, and how that fits in with the client's goals and values. And so I think it's an amazing grounding. I am surprised that it's not one of the subjects that should be a part of the ongoing education.
I completely agree, Fraser. And one of the passions I have within the financial advice world is around behavioural finance and the psychology of money.
Yes, fantastic. Well, let's get into that. Speaking of behavioural psychology and how humans work, let's certainly get into this, because I want to talk about the concept in this episode around that conversation at a barbecue. Clients talking about what it is, what financial planning is. There's obviously there's some messaging that we could probably do better, I think, when it comes to, what's the real value in financial advice. And so let's kick that off with a conversation of what should clients, or how can we get to clients to think in a particular way when it is discussing it with their friends around the barbecue?
Fraser, look, I agree. It really is a hard topic for barbecue conversations in some regard. Because I've grown up in this industry, I always just assumed people knew that financial advisors existed. And it never occurred to me that really most people don't know who we are and what we do and how we help. So those conversations around the barbecue when you're not there are really all about, what are you doing with your money and how much did you spend on your house? And, there's no real depth to looking at things holistically. And I think that's where a financial advisor's value really comes through, is in that broader view of somebody's overarching financial position and how you can move them from where they are today and where they want to be. What are those goals and objectives?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when I think about this, some of those money conversations that take place beforehand can often be around specific, product, buying a house or buying a car or buying those product type conversations, rather than the idea of, are you really happy with where you're at?
Yeah, exactly. And I think also the barbecue conversations, people aren't 100% honest about their situation because they're, maybe a little concerned or scared or, they're not where they want to be. And so they're projecting perhaps an image of being in a better place than perhaps they actually are. And also there's a lack of understanding of necessarily exactly where do they fit for themselves. And there's comparisons with others. People love to kind of get a feel for how does my situation compare with your situation, that whole keeping up with the Joneses scenario, rather than really thinking individually around where am I at and where do I want to be and how do I get there.
This is classic benchmarking 101, right? This is just like, where do I fit in? And I think, does this come back to the concept of the more, theoretically within our society, the more money you have, the better person you are, and all that sort of really, let's face it, that's crap, right?
Yeah, totally.
The idea of, if someone's got more money, they must have been more successful than you.
Yeah, and so those conversations around that psychology of money and how we see money and what money actually means to us individually versus the more broader community or society oriented perspectives on money. It's really an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah. So if we had a blank piece of paper and we could reshape that conversation as to what we might want it to be. And obviously this is getting to the point that if we had a blank piece of paper and we could reshape the conversation for these clients or these potential clients to be talking about what we offer as a service, how could we reshape that conversation?
That's a really great question, Fraser.
I'm thinking it should be around happiness and goals and values and those sorts of things. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look, why are we talking specifics of, I am in crypto. That's the favorite, FOMO flavor of the week. Are you in crypto? I'm in crypto. To more around, well, what's the purpose of crypto? Where's it going to get you? Is it actually going to meet the goals that you have? Let's talk about, well, what's important to you, in terms of what will help you, have the lifestyle that you're looking for. And so, reshape those conversations to be very much directed around, what is important to that person? What do they really value in life? Do they value the fast cars and having a bunch of money in the bank and, having a $1 million crypto portfolio that looks like 200,000 a week later? Or, do they value family? Do they value the work that they do? Do they value being rewarded for the work that they do, i.e., the income that they're receiving? And really, change the nature of the conversation to be much more individualistic around what's important to those people and what they're striving to achieve.
Yeah. What I really got out of what you just said then is, what's the purpose? And then it made me think of what you were saying is, let's forget about the how piece and start focusing on the why. Why are you, why do you really want that money? Why do you need that much? Why do you need $10 million worth of crypto or not? All those conversations.
I think Simon Sinek would be very proud.
Yeah, we're definitely quoting a few of his ideas. So if that's the case, if the idea around it might not be a barbecue. If the idea around client conversations around somebody who is a client of your business, talking to somebody who wasn't a client of your business, how could we get them to then focus on asking some really deep questions of their friends to say, well, I go to a financial planner who doesn't worry about the how we're going to do it, but looks at the why first.
Yeah, look, it's a hard ask if even from my perspective, I'm not really that used to positioning myself in that way. I think having just been invested in this industry for so long, you are so used to it that you don't necessarily position yourself from that perspective. It's challenging. I think it's a way forward really is to, help people understand that what we do is much more holistic, and rather than piecemeal, that we'd rather, as much as a lot of the conversations can be event driven, that it's only one aspect of looking at the overall picture. I'm finding with some of the referrals I've been getting at the moment, it is quite event driven. This has been happening or that's been happening. And that's really just opening the door to it. So then the conversation broadens from there. But I find that people do tend to come to us because something is going on in their world that needs looking at. And then once they're, having a conversation with you, you start asking the deeper questions around, where's that? What are the goals that you have? What are you looking to achieve? What values do you hold?
Fantastic. So let's go down that event-driven conversation, because I think that's really important too. If you are thinking about setting up a branding or marketing in any particular way for a business, you should be very much focused on if the event-driven or the trigger is the event, then what are those trigger events of your ideal client, I guess, and then how can you then produce some sort of branding material around those events, then that lead into the questions of why do you want this, or how specifically, or whatever it might be. What sort of events are you seeing for your target clients?
Yeah, look, I think change in employment, whether it's a significant pay increase or a change in their role within the organisation, or it's a change of organisation altogether, or maybe it's a redundancy that they've, because of changing nature of the work. House purchase is a really big one at the moment.
It's a very big one.
Huge.
Yeah, very big purchase prices.
And high prices. And so I've got people struggling with how do you get to the point where you can actually get into the market when the market is well ahead of where they're capable of creating the savings to step into that, on the one side. And then on the flip side, I've got clients having to make decisions around selling properties in order to then fund retirement more effectively. So it's two sides to the same coin on that one. Other events that are triggers for people might be around protecting their families. I think because of COVID, that's something that's come up a little bit more into people's frame of reference. Insurance is never bought, it's sold, and yet we're coming into an era, I think, that people are starting to acknowledge that protecting their family is actually a higher priority than it's ever been.
Yeah, fantastic. I actually see insurance as contingency planning for a lot of people's goals as well. So I agree. I've heard that saying a few times. Yeah.
It's the foundation of any good financial plan, is to make sure there's a backbone in there in case shit hits the fan. You want to.
Very much so. Look, that's our first, and Amy, thank you for catching up to us on the conversation of how do we sort of talk about this from a pre-clients coming into the office point of view. We look forward to catching you in the next episode when we start getting into the concept of you're really engaging clients once they've engaged your services. So we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Fraser. See you then.
Our next guest on the show is Craig Buntain. Welcome, Craig.
G'day, Fraser. How are you?
Very well. Now, do you want to give the listeners a quick overview of you and your business?
Yeah, my name's Craig Buntain. I have been practicing financial planner since about 1999. I'm one of the owners and directors of a relatively small boutique planning business in Brisbane called CFL Financial Planning. Where we've recently moved to serviced offices in Queen Street. So enjoying life a different way.
Yes, and of course, just quickly, you can still get around in Brisbane at the moment with lockdowns.
Yes, I certainly can, which is great. With a mask on, albeit, but yes, we can get around the place. Although a lot of clients are still preferring the online meetings at this point in time.
Yep. Now we're talking about all things towards the idea around branding and understanding why we do goals-based financial advice. Now, from a client point of view, we're talking about the concept of what they should be saying about the advice that they receive and why goals-based actually is great for them. What are you doing in your business regarding to that sort of that pre-exist or pre-client? They're not even a client yet. Branding and information that you put out around goals-based advice.
Yeah, I suppose we don't do very much in terms of marketing, particularly to externals. We're a relatively small practice that really just takes referrals from existing clients and a couple of centres of influence. But all the information that we put out is very on processes is very goals based and goals driven. So even in terms of all of our testimonials, we ask clients to mention the goals that they had and then the fact that they achieved them. So our advice is very personalised, and I suppose that's the message that we get out. And I think that really sums up that's goals based because everyone's goals are different.
Yep. And you've got a fairly clear process. You mentioned that it might not be one to the marketplace, but you have a very sort of clear approach on how you get new business into your business. And as you mentioned, the idea of getting those testimonials.
Yeah, that's right. So as soon as we get, say, a lead or a referral, we're sending them out a welcome pack. And that sort of welcome pack tells them how we do things and what the process is. They get booked in, and then we do kind of a discovery / triage call to make sure that one, they're a good fit for our business, but two, that we can actually help them. There's no point us meeting with a whole bunch of clients that really don't fit our model right from the start, or we're going to be way too expensive for them, or we tend to prefer fairly complex advice clients rather than one-off advice clients. So we much prefer to talk to them and see what areas we can help them with. And that kind of is the start of the goals conversation.
And when you're doing that, when you're looking for that complexity, which is, I guess, what you are looking for, is chunking down into their goals something that's such an important part of that?
It is. I mean, that's the big buy-in. So, really that those conversations that we have in the initial part just about their goals, I regularly get referred to. That's the best conversation I've had about my, finances or my planning ever. And quite often the first meeting that I have, it's the best meeting that clients have ever had. And we get regular comments about that because we're really just talking all about them and hardly anything about us other than the fact that, yes, we can help.
Yeah, I'll get into that. I'm keen to unpack this with regards to in the next few episodes with regards to how you do those meetings, because I know that the structure is really important.
Okay.
But before we go there though, just with the welcome pack that you send out, this is the they're not a client yet. They haven't even met you in person yet. You may or not have had a triage call with them. What do you send them in that welcome pack?
Yeah, the welcome pack's got a few things in there. It's it explains to them our process and our philosophies. So, the philosophies of the 6 areas of advice that we cover and what each of those is in kind of broad terms, to get them I suppose, acquainted with some of the terminology, because I think we're all pretty guilty of using jargon that nobody understands in this industry. So it's kind of introducing them to that sort of thinking, I suppose, and getting them ready. With the key idea is to get them thinking about their goals and their objectives before they start filling in any documentation for us, so that they're doing it with that kind of lens.
Yeah, this is really interesting. And what I really like about it is the structure. And you mentioned you've done some work with Blackwing in the past around setting this out with regards to this is the way we do things around here. It's different. It's a different approach than you might get with another business. And how important is that differentiation?
I suppose it's what we've become known for amongst our clients, is that, when they're having a conversation with someone else who's got a financial planner that's complaining, they're complaining about their, planner or something that's happened, or complaining about a product more often than the actual advisor. They talk to our clients, and our clients, half of them aren't really even concerned about what products they've got. The product isn't the thing. It's actually the goal and whether they're meeting it. It's all about strategy.
Yep. And the next thing I wanted to mention on that is your process about how to refer, so clients then know what to do if they think of something or they speak to something, they know what to physically do next.
Yes, yeah. So we do have a process that does that. I must say we're not 100% successful with it, but I don't think anyone is with one of those processes. But yes, our process is essentially at the end of implementing an initial client, their strategies or their financial plan that we originally set up. We actually explain to them that they're the perfect client that we like to work with. And we tell them why, what the characteristics are about them that make them such a great client for us. And then we effectively just say, look, our business is growing. The way that we like to grow is through referrals. And we want to work with people that we enjoy working with, and they're people just like you. So if you've got any family or friends that you think we could help the same way that we've helped you, please feel free to refer them. And then we give them basically some free vouchers for appointments and access to things like ebooks and things like that, just to give a few little giveaways to get people thinking about financial planning.
Yep, it's an interesting process there. The old voucher, isn't it? We sort of get these vouchers, but it's not for you; it's to give to somebody else. So it's
That's right. Yeah. I think the other thing is we have incentivized clients in the past as well, in terms of a discount on their fees if a referral that comes through is successful. Yep. We're tending not to do that these days. There's not enough margin.
Not what this particular podcast is about. But Craig, thanks for sharing your thoughts on this particular topic around getting new clients in and branding.
That's all right.
And now I'd like to welcome our next guest when we're talking about all things towards branding and the messaging that's out in the marketplace. Welcome, Kate Americano.
Thanks, Fraser. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, do you want to give the listeners a quick overview of you and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually just taken the leap of faith into my own coaching business last year, into business coaching, values coaching, and life designing. Prior to that, I was 30 years in financial services, and the last 19 years spent working at a licensee, working directly with financial planners and doing a lot of business coaching around their businesses. So, financial planners are always my niche. What I've found is that there's been a real lot of opportunity to coach people outside that as well. So businesses that are outside financial planning, and also clients directly, just in terms of a lot of their values coaching, teenagers, mothers, and even retirees now are kind of engaging in terms of that as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So you like helping planners to help people, but also you like helping people. So, and funnily enough, they've all got goals and values to talk to them about.
They sure do. And at the end of the day, Fraser, like, it doesn't matter whether it's the financial planner chatting in terms of it, they're all looking in terms of that current you versus future you and the gap. How do I bridge that gap, and how can I, what are the things that I need to be able to do that? And yeah, the first place to be able to start there is obviously with those values, so you can understand what's important to them.
Yep, fantastic. And speaking about a place to start, we're sort of starting the series on the idea of what are some of the things that clients should be saying around their financial advice that they're getting. What are some of the messaging and branding? The hope is obviously that if we can get this part right, then as we're building goals-based and values-based businesses, that we're actually doing it because we want this messaging to be out there. We want this to be the basis of how we build our business.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at what clients value, this is even directly just from David Haines and what he was saying in terms of that phrase, and I absolutely love it, is because clients want you to know me, know my family, understand me, help me, simplify me, declutter me, and reduce my anxiety. So, they're all really, really personal, reasons and very dear to people's hearts. So obviously the managing the wealth and the financial and superannuation investment, all that's really, really important, but they want to be known. And they're definitely the things that I would want as a financial planner, that I would want my client be chatting to their friends at barbecues about me as with my financial advice.
As you said that, I thought of the word understanding, and there's been a lot of talk in the profession lately about the idea of clients understanding the advice, and I think probably the beginning part to that, from what you're alluding to, is the idea that advisors understanding the clients.
100%. And, one of the big questions I think for advisors right now is they often want to know what clients value. And I guess the question for them is just to really ask themselves is, how do you know what your clients value if you don't know what their values are? And this is actually a progression from that goals-based advice. We've been doing that goals-based advice. Values-based advice has been around for quite a while now, but it's actually now really coming to the forefront because people want you to know much more about them than just about their money and their assets and things like that. They want a much deeper understanding around it.
Yeah, when I think about these two working together, they're hand in hand. The values are a person's human motivators, the things that really drive them, that light them up inside. And then the goals are just the actions or parameters or things that are around those, and they're so well linked, aren't they?
They are. They're really, really well linked. And when you actually have them in alignment, clients are naturally feel happier when you're congruent and in alignment with your values, and particularly if you're overlaying that with your money goals as well. When they're in complete alignment, that's when you're feeling good about, certainly the advice and what you're doing, and clients are more likely to stay on track with that. Whereas if you're completely out of alignment, that's when you get them, spending money on things they shouldn't be because they're anxious or stressed and doing things the wrong way instead of actually, being in alignment with their values and their overall financial well-being.
And we'll talk a little bit more in the future episodes around how to make sure they are in alignment. But just going to the idea of them not being in alignment at the moment, that's certainly an area that when the habits are very hard to form, and when they do, they stick. But obviously, if something's not in alignment, then it pretty much won't happen.
Yeah, completely won't happen because they just, and a lot of people actually just don't even know what their values are because they've simply not ever been asked. They're just going quite blindly with that. They'll have a gut feel. You'll know in your gut when you're in alignment because it feels good and whatever you're doing feels right. And when you're out of alignment with your values, you just have that, that gut feel that is wrong. And it's a really good gauge with other people. Like when you actually, whether you're using it in the financial planning practice, the corporate world, it doesn't matter, with people in a social environment, when you are actually, you can relate to people who have similar values to you.
Yep.
And when you understand what other people's values are, you have much more empathy and compassion and understanding for them as well. So it actually allows you to be much more harmonious in your workforces and in your businesses.
Yep, fantastic. And I'm going to ask you the question when we get to episode 3 around how do you actually elicit or find out what somebody's values are. But before we do that, in this episode, I want to talk about the idea of what you want your clients, or what the end client should be saying to other people around the benefit of getting goals and values-based advice. What's the messaging that we should be striving for?
Yeah, for that, I would really say that the difference with that is that my advisor understands me first and foremost, and they understand my family and they care about me. And as part of that, they are actually, it's all the financial planning side of it as well. So they care about my family, they care about my assets, they take care of me. That they're the guardian. They're the guardian of my money. They're the guardian of my family, and they really stop me from making bad decisions. That's what I like my financial planner to do for me. Is that real, that peace of mind, and knowing that I've got that sounding board and that trusted advisor that I can actually rely on and go to when times are tough and when I've just got ideas I want to bounce off them.
Yeah, do you find that in the old world there was a lot of conversations then just around product? You mentioned things like taking care of me and having my back and something making bad decisions. You didn't mention product at all in that. But also there is an interesting space around this that I'm thinking around tracking, around actual quantifying that information. Like how does a client quantify what's been good in the goals-based advice world, good advice?
The way that advisors have been doing that is having that great the tracking system. The way I've seen advisors do that really well is that green, red, and the amber in terms of being on track for their goals or not on track for their goals. And one advisor in particular had done a really beautiful job on the reporting in terms of, are we on track for the accumulators and then for the retirees? And so how are we, and he actually did build his own sort of report off the back of it, but really demonstrated at that annual progress meeting, okay, you are for the accumulators, look here, this is what we're targeting in terms of whether it was their superannuation or their investments, this is what we're targeting. You're currently agreeing on that, or you're amber, or where your debt's gone way out, but that's okay, this is where we need to catch up, or you're behind. So just that lovely ahead and behind indicator is really, really valuable. Obviously, it has all the stats and all the numbers underneath it to show the people who are wanting that really detailed analysis, but an overall summary and visual to be able to give to his clients. That actually completely transformed his business when he introduced that, because it changed it from just being what was perceived an annual review and may not have had necessarily the meaning to the client and mattered to the client the same way. But as soon as he flipped it around and introduced this traffic-based sort of system, clients were actually loving that so much and therefore referring. He got a heap of referrals out of it because clients would go and show all their friends what they were getting from their advisor, and they're like, oh my God, my nanny talks about product and superannuation. I want that advisor.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Which is exactly what the messaging we're trying to get. And I really think that's important to keep it simple in that space. It's the client can just say, I'm ahead or behind, I'm tracking towards my goal.
100%.
That's the comment that you want them to be saying at the barbecue, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And fantastic, Kate. Thanks so much for your time today. We look forward to catching you in the next episode when we start talking about, just when the clients come in and how do you start engaging them. So we'll catch you in the next episode.
Okay. See you. Bye.
Welcome to the show, Tim.
G'day, Fraser. How are you?
Very well, very well. Now, do you want to give the listeners a quick overview of you?
I would love to. My name is Tim Henry, obviously, and I've got a business in Melbourne called Aspire Planning, and we've been around for coming up for 6 years, and we've put a really big focus on our business on the life element, if you like. I call it the life element because I feel like that sits in front of the goals element, and it's really just about that life element first and finances second, but obviously with a clear focus on providing those financial strategies to back it up.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for being part of this series. This is, of course, episode 1 of a 6-part series. All things around values, life, and financial planning with regards to goals-based financial planning.
Love it.
So, look, the first series we're talking today very much around the branding, the things that you would want your clients to say about your business to their friends at the at the barbecue when they're talking about the process that they've just been through.
Cool.
Tell us about what that might be for you.
Well, I think we've touched on this. I've been on XY before, and we touched on the fact I had a different background from being in financial advice, as I guess a lot of people do. And it wasn't that I was anti the industry coming in, but I did think that the industry was a little bit self-absorbed or self-focused. Is that bad to say that? But I think it's about, for me, I want people to think that we're a human aspect, a human version of financial advice. So it's not just turning up and having financial numbers rammed down your throat. That we're solving real life problems for people, and they're feeling good about how their life is going and what their finances play in that situation.
Excellent. So the idea around that feeling good, one of your clients saying they've just come out, they've done some work with you guys, they've put something in place, and they're feeling good about what? What's the thing that they're feeling good about?
I think they're feeling good about their direction and their momentum. More than anything, I've got a really strong belief that people are emotional. I think that there's a saying that says something like, we are feeling beings that have the ability to think. So I think quite often we put the thinking part in front and we talk logical stuff. People are going to feel something first, and then they're going to think something about it second. So we want them to feel like, I'm building momentum, I'm heading in the direction I want to head, and I'm really clear where I'm going, and I feel like I can get there.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Fantastic. You're kinesthetic the way I am too. So that of course we're always guilty of jumping to the practical side first. Where we think, there is a problem, I can solve that, I can jump on top of that. That's probably easier than getting into someone's emotions. But we do know that you're right, people are emotional, and that's how they make decisions.
Absolutely. And I think as well, I think this is a perfect thing to talk about with branding, because, and I probably think this coming from that retail background, people only really remember one or two, if you're lucky, two things about you. And they're probably only going to have a real strong comment about one element of what they liked about you. So what is that one thing that you want to nail? And for us, I really feel like we just want to nail that feeling of momentum and control for them. I know where I'm going, and I know what is possible. And I think if you ask people when they have anxiety about their financial situation or where their life's heading, it normally would be that they don't know what's possible and they don't know if they've got control or whether they can get there.
Yeah, so taking them from that feeling of uncertainty or unsure, or even anxiety for that matter, because I think there could be a lot of anxiety around visiting a financial advisor, and then walking out of your office with a feeling of control and momentum, like they're heading in a direction towards something.
And empowerment. I think the thing is that what would be the fear? Well, you talked about the fear. What would be the fear for people to go? Well, they're going to talk at a level that's over my head, or they're going to talk numbers at me, and I'm not very good with numbers. So, at the barbecue, we're wanting people to be saying it was a great experience. Like, well, I understand what I'm doing. I understand the numbers. And even though they mightn't understand everything about the numbers, they don't have to. They just understand that the numbers mean I can do this.
Yep. So fantastic. And I like the idea of dispelling the fear. With that said, how are you going with your branding? What are you doing in your marketing and branding with your, to new clients that haven't been to see you yet? How are you getting that message out to them?
When you say branding, I guess you're meaning what our version of this stands for.
Yep.
And it really is clearly, I'd probably go back to what I just said, is assume people might only remember one thing. So we want that life element to come through really strongly. We definitely focus more on a female. We don't just target females, but we are definitely female friendly with our branding, because we believe they're make most of the decisions in the household. So we're wanting to get that life element across, and everything that we push out talks to that emotion, how you're feeling about where your life's headed. Did you know this could help you with your goals, or how you're feeling about your direction in life? So everything we do has that flavour, because that's what we want people to remember.
This is a really interesting point. Now, you mentioned, and I know that you were on a webinar that I was on recently that talked about the idea of, some differences between a male and female. And one of those was, we sort of came up with the idea that often men can be narrow focused in thinking, which is, which might be one thing at a time for us blokes. But then women can have more of a approach on the whole of life or whole of scenario, or that multitasking.
You mean from the client point of view?
Yeah.
I'll probably approach it in the fact that a lot of guys would have a she'll be right attitude to a lot of elements to their life. If we're, particularly with what we're doing with this holistic approach to advising, it's a bit like having a house with lots of rooms in it. And I don't know if I went to something a long time ago. She was a fantastic female presenter who talked about the differences between selling to men and selling to women. She said, imagine that a man's brain is the house. To have a conversation about a topic, you have to go into that room, close that door, lock that door, and only stay in that room and have that conversation. Whereas women can run from room to room and have different conversations. So it's a bit like that. And I feel like women as a whole they want to know that these little pockets in their life have got momentum, because they're the things that niggle away at them. Can we afford to send the kids to that school? What's going to happen with our retirement? Can we afford good holidays? Are we going to pay off the mortgage? All these things which, guys sometimes would just be focused on, I need to get work done today and get to the end of the day and have a beer or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. Was that a presentation from someone like Amanda McGee or something? I don't know. Was that? I think I remember that presentation.
I'm really annoyed because I bought her book and I've been looking for it for a couple of years and I've lost it.
All right, well, let's do some research and find that out. Tim, thanks for catching up in this episode, though, talking about branding and the idea of what advisors can be doing. I think that the idea here is to start with this focus in mind. What is the outcome you want the client to say, and then build the rest of the business around it. You're going to come back for the other episodes in this series, so we look forward to catching you in the next episode.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
And our next guest on this episode is Michael Topper. Welcome.
Thanks very much, Fraser. Looking forward to it.
Now, do you want to give the listeners a very quick overview of you?
Sure. I'm one of the founders and directors of Astute Wheel, but I've been in this industry since about 2008. Prior to that, in accounting with KPMG, radio and TV, then the airline industry, then the marketing industry, and finally in financial services. And so I'm one of the few people in our business that isn't a financial advisor. So I can hopefully bring a few different views of things, having that different background.
Yeah, certainly a very diverse background. And obviously during this episode, we're talking a lot about branding and marketing and messaging for humans. So a lot of work in different industries, working with different humans.
Exactly. Makes it fun.
Fantastic. Now, let's get into this. We're talking about the concept of clients, and before they're a client, that messaging that we want to go out. What's the ultimate thing that clients can be talking or saying about goals-based advice and values-based advice? Say it to a friend at a barbecue.
Yeah, I think from an advisor's point of view, just to keep things simple. So I think people try and overcomplicate marketing, whereas marketing is actually pretty simple. Marketing 101 is ask clients what they want and then give it to them. And if you do that, you've got a better chance of that being part of a discussion at a barbecue. Don't make things technical. Clients, once you help them understand goals and help them achieve goals, then that becomes the conversation at the barbecue. So, what have you been up to? We've just come back from overseas. It was an awesome trip. Wow, how did you afford that? Well, my financial advisor helped me, blah, blah, blah. And that's where it comes through, and it's more experiential. So what are you doing? How did you do it? Who helped you get there?
Yep, fantastic. And so if we go into that conversation then, what other sort of what are the conversations that you think drive that when it comes to client conversations with each other? What's the why behind, I guess, that conversation? Why bring it up and why talk about it?
Yeah, the thing that's interesting from a research point of view is that people refer for their own reasons, not for the advisors. So there's no clients out there, typically, whose job it is to go and promote your business and make you more successful. That's not in their thinking. And I think you'll find in financial services, a lot of people are a bit wary about talking about their finances. It's kind of a taboo subject. So they're not going to do that easily. Where you, as an advisor, can make a difference is to make things very different to them. So at a barbecue, if someone was saying, what did you get up to this week? I met with my financial advisor. How was it? It was pretty dreary. Went through the normal stuff. He gave me a big document I don't understand. How about you? Well, actually, I met with my advisor 3 months ago, and this is what we did together. The guy's going to go, who's your advisor? I think I need to move.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a pretty dreary conversation if we start out with the first part. But I'm thinking also along the lines of, celebrating achievements. I think people like to sort of think at the barbecue, they like to celebrate their achievements or something that they're on track or feel good about.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's really important, and advisors need to help their clients set short, medium, and long-term goals. And short-term goal that everyone wants to achieve typically is go on a holiday. So if that's a goal, or buy a car, and possibly it's the first time they've bought a new car rather than a second-hand one, that becomes a conversation piece. How did you afford that? I know, one female advisor I'd spoken to previously, she helps her clients, typically female clients, buy as many shoes as they want and not feel guilty about it. And she's helped them do that by setting money aside in an account so that they can actually go to a shoe shop and buy expensive shoes. And that's her talking point of difference. That's something that'll come up at a barbecue rather than I met with my advisor earlier in the week and it was awesome.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. It's celebrating those wins. It's like you said, if somebody rocks up to a barbecue with a new car, they're definitely going to be There's definitely going to be a conversation about it.
Yeah, and it's one of the things, I don't know if you've read a book by Paddy Lund. He's a dentist, and he changed his dental practice to be completely different to anything else. And he discovered quite quickly that what he valued, the clients didn't even understand. What they valued was the things that he did that was very different to other dentists. And so they could relate to those, and they could talk to their friends about this dentist that does stuff completely differently to a typical dentist, and that's how he got referrals.
Well, I'm really intrigued now. Tell me about that. What was he doing?
So very different. He didn't have a dentist chair that went up and down and back. He had a bed that was flat, and he didn't go and then need all the expensive tools that need to move around with a chair. He could keep that pretty simple. Something he did, which was very different, is that he wanted the place to be more like a cafe. So when people came in, he imported a very big and expensive coffee machine from Italy back in the days where that was pretty novel. They had an oven, and they used to cook buns in the dentist as well, so it would actually smell like a nice place, not like a sterile dentist premises. But he also gave people a really good book before they became a client. So one, he was very picky about who became clients, and it was all done through word of mouth. And secondly, before they came in for the first appointment, he would actually send them a document that had a whole lot of really good information for them, so they could make informed decisions before they came in for a consultation.
Yeah, I love hearing stuff that's outside the box like this when it comes to client experiences and understanding. You put your client first rather than just necessarily the way we always do it. Especially when it comes to, financial services, we're a profession and we work as professionals, and all of a sudden, sometimes it starts getting unemotional and just becomes about strategy or product and those sorts of things. So I love hearing those stories. Are you seeing any other stuff? I mean, I love the shoe conversation too, by the way, the guilt-free shoe account. I think that's a great way. Are you hearing anything else or seeing anything else that advisors are doing really well when it comes to that? How they're marketing or talking to their clients about goals-based advice?
They are, and particularly with COVID. So we've got a lot of feedback from advisors that use our system that COVID became a really good excuse, if you need an excuse, but a good reason to have goals conversations with clients. And so, theoretically, goals-based advice has been around forever, and that may or may not be true. What hasn't been around are the tools that make it easy for you to conduct goals-based advice in a way that the client gets and makes it easy for the client. So the feedback we got from advisors was, people were busy getting freaked out about COVID, what was happening to the share market, how that was impacting them. And so they got a lot of calls. They were able to settle that down quickly by using our live modeling tools to show them that actually the impact isn't that bad, and here's some strategies to get back on track. And then thirdly, it's been a while since we've spent some time with you working on your goals. Let's just start from scratch and let's have a great goals conversation and develop the goals and use some tools to help you get those in place. And so we can monitor those going forward. So a lot of advisors jumped on that during COVID.
Yeah, exactly. We'll jump into that in the next episode when we start to talk about some of those those engagements. But I do resonate with you that obviously there are a lot of conversations that say all advice is goals-based advice. I know what you're talking about. But I guess sometimes it gets lost in the conversation. Sometimes we get lost in the idea that strategy and product off the back of strategy are such an important part of what advisors do that becomes the topic of the conversation too often, rather than keeping the clients focused on what they want to achieve.
Yeah, and I think from an advisor's point of view, their goal should be to be referable. Make your business referable, and then figure out who the people are that can refer to you. And professionals like accountants typically are pretty good referrers to financial advisors. Unfortunately, they're not necessarily the best referrers, so you need some tools to help them do that. And whenever someone gets referred to a professional, the first thing they're going to do is look at their website. So make sure you've got a website that shows that you're professional, that you're different to other people, that you've got all the stuff that you can help clients have testimonials on there. And have a really simple tool that they can complete. So you can buy ones that they can do some of their own retirement modeling. We don't like that idea, but some advisors have that on their websites. But something like a 5-minute financial health check, so they can go there, fill in something, start a conversation with the advisor, then move on to the goals conversation and a consultation.
Yeah, I think you're right with the website. The website is such an important part. It's the doorway, the shop front for many people. So I think investing in your branding and around your website and understanding that's going to be the first point of call. Understanding that you're not going to be there for that conversation. So it's very they're there to judge, and so you really do need to put your best foot forward. Michael, thanks so much for catching up in this episode. You're going to come back for the rest of our series, so we'll see you in the next episode where we start talking about ways to engage that client. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks. Have a great week.